Now on to the main event. Now, again, by this point, I was kind of like, man, this don't really feel like a WrestleMania. Maybe I don't know. And again, my expectations weren't even really that high. But it just feels like there was no spice to it. There was no something crazy happening. There was nothing. Like, it's been a very paint by numbers, straight wrestling match. Which there's no problem with that. But give me some type of razzle dazzle something. And there was nothing. So I'm like, by the time we get to the main event, I'm like, all right, well, this has been a fine WrestleMania. I don't think nobody's really going to talk about this WrestleMania. But then the main event happens. Seth comes out with a flamethrower, doing his best rock impression for WrestleMania 32. But then comes out like HBK, having the lights go out, and then comes out with white gear. Roman comes out there, no wise man, no bloodline. Looks very strange. The first time he's had a WrestleMania where he wasn't out there, at least the wise man or the bloodline. So that was kind of wild. But I love the tribute he did to his father, his uncle, basically his whole entire family tree. That was really dope. They had actual like screens come down and show the different members of the family: Rikishi, Yokozuna, the Wild Samoans, Peter Maivia. That was very, very cool that they did that. And then you had CM Punk, who had a video package after Roman and Seth was already in the ring. And I'm like, well, this motherfucker's winning. They basically did a tribute to CM Punk and his start in the company, and they played the old Fire Burns theme song. I'm like, holy shit. Like, it almost got me teared up. And they were going back and forth between the first promo Punk did in ECW, then back to the current CM Punk. And he was basically saying the words simultaneously. I'm like, oh my God. It's giving me the feels. Give me those rock goosebumps. So then In Living Color comes out. Great. They just great guitar riffs into the live version of Cult of Personality. Punk comes out in the old school gray hoodie with the yellow boots. Paul's by his side, and I started to get teared up a little bit. I'm like, oh my God. This brings me back to like WrestleMania 29 when Paul Heyman was by Punk's side when he was facing The Undertaker. I'm like, oh my God. This feels right. This feels good. I should have known then that something was going to happen to mess that up. And so my continuous complaint about this match has been there's nothing that's been on the line. There's no stakes. There's no world title, no more contendership. The winner doesn't go on to be in the main event of night 2. So I'm kind of like, even though I know they're going to have a great match, I don't really care. But I'll give it to Roman, Seth, and Punk. Somehow these motherfuckers got me to care, because by the time they first start off like in the crowd, they're brawling in the crowd, then they get back into the ring. By the time they start hitting their finishers, I'm fully invested. Now, I definitely wanted Punk to win. However, well, as a fan, I wanted Punk to win. In terms of someone who is thinking outside of being a fan, I'm like, Seth has to win. But I was definitely rooting for Punk throughout the match. And so these guys definitely had their working boots on. They kept doing each other, like getting out of finishers, doing each other's finishers, doing finishers. Then they had a great moment where near kind of the end of the match, Seth had Punk down, Roman was down, and Seth was talking to Roman like, hey, it's you and me. We need to take Punk out. He is the problem here. We need to take him out. And so Roman is contemplating it. He's thinking about it. He's getting emotional like he does. And it looks like they're about to do the old school Shield powerbomb. And it's also crazy because Seth, this second night in a row to where he referenced Dean. The Friday night he referenced Dean and said Dean Ambrose's name as he did his version of a pipe bomb, talking about how it was him, Roman, and Ambrose, and how, Paul Heyman got them into business or got them to the main roster or whatever. And then when he's talking to Roman in the ring, when he's trying to convince him to take out Punk together, he's like, you know, it's me, it's you, it's Mox, it's da-da-da-da. Like, we got to get him out of here. I'm like, what? That's a second Dean Ambrose reference. I'm like, what's going on? And they actually call him Mox. It's crazy. And I know damn well Mox ain't going nowhere near WWE, so I ain't worried about that. But so they do they tease the Shield powerbomb onto the announce table, but then Roman takes out Seth and then does his self-own powerbomb and puts Punk through the announce table. Then puts Seth through the announce table, and now it's Punk versus Roman in the ring, and now it's the moment that we all expected. Okay, who's Paul going to side with? Whose side is going to be on? Right? Is it going to be Punk? Is it going to be Roman? Who will it be? And so Paul, of course, gets the chair just like he did. I want to say, what match was that where he got a chair? Brock and Roman. What was that? What was that? Crown Jewel 2021. He gets a chair, but instead of putting it in the middle, he gives it straight to Punk. I said, oh boy, what are we doing here? And Punk and Roman sell it facially so well. But then Heyman got into the ring. I said, oh, damn it, Punk. Well, you're about to get turned on again by Paul. And Paul does. He gives Punk the chair, then low blows him. But he was actually emotional about it. Like, look what you made me do. I didn't want to have to do it. Look what you made me do. Like, he was literally emotional about having to turn on Punk. Because you look at when they were walking down the ring and they were doing the entrance, like, you could tell Paul really, like, in kayfabe and shoot-wise, loves Punk. But Paul is a ultimate opportunist. Shout out to Edge. Which also got referenced on commentary, I believe, which is interesting. But yeah, like, Paul didn't want to have to do it, but he did what he thought he had to do. So then he hands the chair over to Roman, and Seth is on the other side of the ring. I said, these motherfuckers are going to actually do it. Everybody been saying, oh, Seth is going to join Paul Heyman. I'm like, I don't see that. I don't think they would go that far. But lo and goddamn behold, Paul Heyman turns on Roman Reigns, and Seth puts his hand out like Roman has done for many a years when Paul would hand Roman a microphone or a belt. Paul, like, god dang it, Seth puts his hand out. Paul hands Seth Rollins the chair. And just like this past week, just like at last year's WrestleMania, just like when he broke up the Shield, he hits Roman with the chair, curb stomp, 1, 2, 3, and Seth Rollins wins in the main event of Night 1, WrestleMania 41, with the help of Paul Heyman. When I say I was gasped, I'm like, I can't believe they actually did it. I was adamant that Seth needs to win this. Punk does not need to win this. Punk, when he actually gets his proper main event, Night 2, hopefully for the title, that's when he needs to win. Punk should not be winning Night 1 of a main event of WrestleMania because Punk is the ultimate underdog. So now that Punk has a main event under his resume, now the thing is, now can he win in the main event? Punk said in his interview, I think like right before Royal Rumble, he says, if I win the Rumble and I'm in the main event, what's my story? I would have done everything I wanted to do. So I love that Punk did not win, even though I was rooting for him in the match. And I love that Roman won because as soon as Seth pinned Roman, right, this is the second time now that Roman has been pinned at WrestleMania now, I'll go right back to the promo that Cody told Roman the Raw before WrestleMania 39. He says he's going to be a chief without a tribe. You're going to be a Roman with no with no reins. And that guy right there, your wise man, will leave you. So the fact that everything that Cody told Roman what was going to happen actually did. After a 2-year story arc of everything that Cody told Roman what was going to happen did. And then Seth as well kind of been telling Roman what was going to happen as well. And the fact that they had Seth look strong on Raw, then had him do his pipe bomb type of thing on SmackDown, it's like, well, Seth is looking so strong. There's no way he's going to win, because it's always this kind of thing to where if you look too strong on the go home, then you're going to lose. But no, they made Seth look strong the week up to WrestleMania, and he won in the main event. Which again, Seth needed this more than anybody, because he's been the third wheel not only in this feud, because the feud has been around Paul Heyman, but also is great because Seth literally said that he has a plan, and he told Paul he has a plan. And then, roughly a week or so ago, he said, I don't expect Paul Heyman to cash in on the favor. He has to make that choice to do so. And I love they did that, because it's like, there's no way Paul Heyman is going to give Seth a favor. That is not how favors work. You can't, stranglehold or hold somebody hostage to do a favor. Like, that's not how favors work. It's supposed to be something that is mutual. And so the fact that Seth literally told Roman, if Paul wanted to, Paul is walking down the aisle with Punk because that's what he wants to do. And if Paul wants to cash in on my favor, then he will. But he's not, because he doesn't care for me. And so the fact that Paul actually did the favor, making a choice to cash in on the favor that Seth believes is owed to him. It's like, oh my God, what storytelling with that. What a freaking storytelling with that. And what I'm most excited about is, more than anything, where do you go now with Roman Reigns? Roman no longer has his title. Roman no longer has his wise man. Everyone in his bloodline is prosperous now. Jey Uso is a world champion. Jacob Fatu is a U.S. champion. The bloodline, for the first time, legit does not need him. They are great by themselves. So now he can't even do the whole head of the table thing, because we don't need you, dog. We won without you. We're good without you. Like, so who is Roman now? Without the bloodline, without the wise man, who is Roman Reigns now? So hopefully whenever he decides to come back, they tell that story of who is Roman now. And the fact that my biggest thing and issue with Roman has been he's never really been remorseful about what he's done. Like, he never apologized. Like, the only time he kind of did was versus Solo, when I believe he actually said, I acknowledge you. I think he actually told Solo, I acknowledge you. But outside of that, like 1 week, Roman has never apologized. He never apologized to Jay, never apologized to Jimmy, never apologized to Paul, never apologized to nobody, never apologized to the fans. Just the fans just, after he lost the title, the fans wanted to cheer him. They cheered him the very next night on Raw after WrestleMania last year, saying, thank you, Roman, because he has been the MVP. And he put the company on his back for the past 4 years. So I get that, but the fact that Roman really has not changed anything about his character. He's still a selfish, narcissistic prick. And now I believe this is going to force him to change as a person. Now that he's on his own, he no longer has the crutch of Paul Heyman nor the bloodline. So now it's going to be interesting to see what happens now. And then also, again, I'm very excited to see what happens with Seth. Now that Seth has Paul, I have no idea what that looks like. It just doesn't look right. Like, so the thing with Seth, the thing with Punk and Heyman, we know they've been best buddies for 20 years. They go all the way back to OVW days, back in 2005, where CM Punk was learning the business with the help of Heyman. And then he goes to ECW, and Punk was supposed to be the face of the new ECW, but Vince and creative basically turned that down, and that's basically why Heyman left, because they refused to push Punk as the face of the company, which to this day, I'm like, I watched a video like a month or so ago with like Michael Hayes being like adamant, like it has to be Bobby Lashley. It has to be like, do you not understand the audience? This is why this company has never reached the heights it did back in the Attitude Era, because you do not understand the audience. Punk should have been the face of the new ECW, MMA fighting type style, not a superstar. But anyway, so the fact that Paul Heyman basically left his company that he created, ECW, because they wouldn't push Punk the way he believed they should have. And again, Punk was the one that shouted out Paul Heyman in his infamous pipe bomb. And then he eventually teamed up with him once he turned heel and had a great 6, 7, 8 month run. We all know the history between Punk and Heyman. That's a genuine friendship. That's a love there. Then with Roman needed Paul to help him with the heel turn, to help him with his new persona. And so Paul has been the true right hand, no disrespect to Jey Uso, but he's been a true heartbeat of the bloodline, being the wise man of the bloodline, putting all the pieces in motion for Roman. Kind of like a J.J. Dillon with the Horsemen, I guess you could say. He's been the heartbeat of that, really the heartbeat of Roman's heel persona since 2020. And so you have the story of basically Brock left and Paul needed a new home, and Roman accepted him into the family. So you have that going there. But with Seth, it's interesting because the Shield was brought in by Punk, but basically it was also Paul. So Seth has been saying it was Paul that brought us in. So now you can tell that story, that it was Paul that brought in the Shield, not really Punk. It was Paul that orchestrated that. But even with that being said, I don't know how that looks with the new Seth Rollins. And the thing that I'm concerned about is I was thinking about this, that they've never had WrestleMania, 2-night WrestleManias end with a heel and a heel, or a babyface and a babyface. It's always been babyface, heel, or heel, babyface. WrestleMania 40, it was heel when Rock and Roman won, and then it was babyface when Cody won. WrestleMania 39, KO and Sammy beat the Usos. Babyface win, 39, Roman wins. WrestleMania 38, Stone Cold beats KO, babyface win. Night 2, Roman wins, 38. 37, Sasha and Bianca beats Sasha, babyface wins. Night 2, Roman wins. So outside of the very first time they did it at 36, there's never been a night where you've had 2 heels. So I'm very concerned that come night 2, Cody is going to beat John, and it's very feasible that will happen because we know John is not going to be there. It's pretty much a foregone conclusion he's not going to be there. So it's kind of like, oh man, if Cody beats Cena, I don't know. And actually, should I wait till tomorrow? I'll wait till tomorrow, because that promo that Cody and Cena had was that intriguing, to where the crowd was actually booing Cody. And I called it a year ago. I didn't think by this particular point how it happened was going to happen this way. But I called a year ago, the crowd is eventually going to boo Cody because he's too much like Cena. Which is, God, how ironic that is. How Cena basically got Cody booed. Nobody else could get him booed outside of Cena, which is crazy. But I'm concerned. And my thinking is, if anybody's going to take that title off of Cody, if it's not Cena, who better than Seth? Seth, who just aligned himself with Heyman, and Seth, who's never been able to beat Cody. Now, if you do Seth and Cody, now Seth has his wise man that he can use to help him finally beat Cody and become your new WWE champion, which I wouldn't mind that, but it would just be a shame to waste Cena's heel turn to have him lose at WrestleMania. But again, that's just me just overthinking probably. But I don't know. I'm thinking, like, where do you go here with Seth? Like, he probably will face Punk at Backlash because Heyman turned on Punk and Roman's going to be gone. And so they'll probably do the real rubber match of Punk and Seth, and Seth will win. And then he will go on to fight for a world title. Again, if Cena doesn't win at WrestleMania, it'll probably be Cody, or he'll be the person to beat Jay for the world title. Again, I don't expect Jay to have that title long, and I'm not expecting him to. So I definitely see a world title in Seth's future by the summer. So, and then, maybe you do Seth and Punk for the world title somewhere in the year, or even make that your main event night 2 next year. But this is how you end WrestleMania, because, like I said in the beginning of this did not feel like a WrestleMania until the main event. And even with the main event not having no real stakes, Paul Heyman joining Seth is a proper, okay, now I can't wait for Monday or Friday to see where they go from here, and give it to Triple H. I mean, there are so many WrestleManias to where it's just a bunch of nothing. So Triple H know what he's doing in terms of, even if most of the card was just fine, maybe a little bit above average, at least they gave us that cliffhanger at the end. And again, you still have night 2, which I don't really expect night 2 to be all that great outside of the title matches of the women's match, the world title women's match, and the men's title match in the main event. But we're going to see what happens. But night 1, in terms of a grade, I would probably say a B-, or I would say 7 out of 10. I don't think when we look back on WrestleMania Night 1, most people will say, I don't think this will be notable outside of Jay winning the title, the Jade Naomi match, and the main event with Seth joining Paul Heyman. That's probably the only true takeaways that's going to come out on WrestleMania Night 1. But yeah, I think an average, a little bit above average WrestleMania. Again, there was just no oomph to it until the end. But let me know how you feel about Night 1 WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. Like, comment, subscribe, share all the things. Ain't gotta go home. Do gotta get to step in. Welcome to the Hive, bitch. There's Hayes Arcade, your hardcore casual fan. If you're not down with that, I got 2 words for you. Suck it.
I'm the best. I'm the best in the world.